Hey, welcome to a new video. In June 2024, scientists made a remarkable discovery in the icy depths of Greenland. As snow and ice melt, researchers observed dormant algae on the ice, leading to the discovery of a massive virus. According to experts, this virus has a much larger genome than typical viruses, which could have significant implications. The discovery raises questions about the virus's properties and potential risks to humans. However, there's speculation that these viruses might play a role in reducing ice melt caused by algae blooms, though the details and effectiveness remain uncertain. This finding also challenges previous assumptions about the barrenness of this region, revealing a diverse presence of microorganisms. Researchers found various microorganisms including bacteria, fungi, yeast, protists, and giant viruses, indicating a previously unknown wealth of life in this environment. Scientists have tested different ice samples, including ice layers, dark ice cores, and red and green snow, but they don't yet fully understand the activities of the giant virus.
Are you new to this channel? Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And before we start, also like the video.
With its vast ice coverage, much of Antarctica's surface remains hidden. This mysterious continent has given rise to several theories, with some suggesting it may harbor an alien base. In July 2018, Linda Moulton Howe conducted an interview with a whistleblower known as Spartan 1, who anonymously shared classified info about Antarctica. Spartan 1, a retired Navy SEAL, shared an intriguing story about an ancient structure he claimed to have discovered during an unofficial reconnaissance mission in August 2003. According to Spartan 1, his team encountered a large octagonal structure protruding from the ice upon arrival at Antarctica's southern coast. Despite the harsh conditions, they found the doors of the structures surprisingly easy to open. Once inside, they noticed a significant temperature change, with the interior maintaining a comfortable 68 to 72 degrees Fahrenheit. In stark contrast to the frigid exterior, the structure's walls were adorned with hieroglyphs that, according to Spartan 1, were completely unknown to humanity. In May 2020, a Google Earth user discovered something astonishing in Antarctica, suggesting the presence of a mermaid or a mermaid-like creature frozen in ice. The user, known as Florida Maquis, claimed that zooming in on the anomaly revealed a shape that couldn't be explained as a natural geological formation. Florida Maquis stated that they had previously found similar sea creature shapes in Antarctica, and this discovery joined their collection. They speculated that the inland shape in the snow could be due to melting, arguing it couldn't be explained as rock, ice, or snow. They described the graceful, curved form, identifying what appeared to be a tail, fin, and possibly an extended flipper. Some interpreted it as evidence of mermaids, or even suggested humans might have evolved from mermaids. If mermaids were real, wouldn't Antarctica be the perfect place for them to live undisturbed? Meditating in minimal clothing in icy conditions is a practice some monks undertake as a part of their spiritual and meditative training. This technique is often associated with Tibetan Buddhist monks and is known as Tumo meditation. Tumo meditation is a technique that enables practitioners to reach a deep meditative state and significantly increase their body temperature, even in extremely cold environments. During Tumo meditation, monks can generate warmth in their bodies through the power of their minds and focus. This practice has been passed down through generations of monks for hundreds of years. While the exact mechanisms behind this practice aren't fully understood, studies have shown distinct differences in blood flow to the brain during Tumo meditation. Despite the freezing conditions, monks remain unaffected and can increase their finger and toe temperature by as much as 46.4 degrees Fahrenheit, or 8 degrees Celsius. The discovery of a secret Nazi military base on Alexandria Land in the Arctic has intrigued researchers and attracted significant attention in recent years. Built in 1942, a year after Adolf Hitler's invasion of Russia, the base was abandoned during the later stages of World War II. Russian scientists have excavated the remains of this base, uncovering various artifacts that provide insights into its history. Alexandria Land lies in the Arctic, approximately 621 miles or 1,000 kilometers from the North Pole. While it was a contested territory for many years, it's now part of the Russian Federation. The remains of the base were discovered by Russian scientists during expeditions to the region. Among the artifacts found were military ammunition, uniforms, meteorological instruments, and personal belongings. The base functioned as a tactical weather station during World War II, with weather data being crucial for timing troop movements, equipment transfers, and ship navigation. Some sources suggest that the base also served as a location for tracking ancient relics. The base was abandoned in 1944 after personnel became ill from consuming contaminated polar bear meat. They were eventually rescued by a German U-boat, leaving behind many supplies and artifacts. Is this an ancient caveman who somehow remained perfectly preserved for thousands of years? You can find this frozen caveman, also known as the Iceman, in Theodore Wirth Park in Minneapolis, specifically between the Conundrum and the 45th North Trails. However, this frozen caveman's actually an art piece by artist Zach Shomack. He designed the sculpture to encourage people to step away from their screens and reconnect with nature. Although this frozen caveman's a creative artwork, in some conditions, human bodies have indeed been preserved in ice. In cold and high altitudes, human bodies can naturally be preserved in ice. Even after their death, the largest animals on Earth play a vital role in the ecosystem. In March 2013, marine biologists made a groundbreaking discovery near Antarctica, where they found a whale skeleton on the ocean floor, almost 1 mile below the surface. Whale carcasses that sink to the ocean floor become important food sources and habitats for various marine organisms. When a whale dies, its flesh is quickly consumed by scavengers, and over time, its skeleton becomes a breeding ground for other organisms that gradually use the remaining nutrients. Bacteria play a crucial role in breaking down the fats stored in whale bones, providing food for other sea life. Zombie worms, a type of organism capable of digesting whale bone, are among the fascinating creatures found on the whale carcass. Although this phenomenon has been studied before, the discovery near Antarctica shed new light on a region that hadn't been extensively explored in this context. The whale skeleton on the ocean floor near Antarctica may have been there for decades. Samples taken from the site revealed several new deep-sea species, such as the bone-eating zombie worm, known as Osidax, which burrows into bones, and an unidentified isopod crustacean resembling a pill bug that crawls over the skeleton. Additionally, scientists found limpets similar to those found near deep-sea volcanic vents. This footage was captured by a man named John on one of the peaks of the Wasatch Front mountain range. The filmmakers were positioned in the valley at an elevation of 4,200 feet, or 1,280 meters, using a zoom lens to record the creature's movements as it ran up the steep snow-covered mountainside. To achieve this, they used a spotting telescope, holding the camera lens up to the viewer. The creature was almost 5,184 feet, or 1,580 meters higher than the filmmakers, nearly 15,748 feet, or 4,800 meters away. Remarkably, the creature moved effortlessly through about 7.5 feet, or 2.3 meters of snow. Think about how large and fast one would have to be to move through snow at that speed. Whatever this is, it's not human, providing further evidence to support theories that Bigfoot might actually be real, roaming the wilderness. The third man factor refers to a phenomenon in which people in extreme or traumatic situations sense the presence of an unseen companion who provides comfort, support, or guidance. This presence is often described as a guardian angel or spiritual being. A famous example of the third man factor comes from Sir Ernest Shackleton's Antarctic expedition of 1914 to 1917. Shackleton and his crew were stranded in the pack ice for 2 years, enduring severe hardships. In his book, South, Shackleton described feeling that an intangible companion joined him and his men during the final leg of their journey. The third man factor has been reported by numerous survivors in various life-threatening situations, including mountain climbers, divers, polar explorers, and even pilots. These individuals have shared remarkably similar stories of experiencing a helper or guardian's presence during their ordeals. While the exact nature of the third man factor remains a mystery, it's often attributed to the mind's response to extreme stress. When it comes to physical descriptions of aliens, there are many different depictions. Gray aliens with small bodies, smooth gray skin, enlarged hairless heads, and large black eyes have become a popular archetype in fiction and abduction reports. However, an old video of an alien from Quebec dating back to 1992 has resurfaced and garnered significant attention over the years. This video, reportedly discovered by snowmobile explorers, has never been debunked. You can observe the alien's features, almost like something out of a movie, with dark eyes, pale skin, and a prominent forehead. Quebec, like many regions, has had its share of UFO sightings over the years. The Quebec sighting took place on November 7, 1990, when witnesses reported seeing a round metallic object above the rooftop pool of the Bonaventure Hotel. According to reports, Quebec recorded a high number of alien sightings in 2017, with a total of 518 cases reported.
In 2016, scientists made an incredible discovery near Cape Irizar off the southern coast of Antarctica. They stumbled upon an abandoned colony of prehistoric Adelie penguins, which hadn't been seen in that part of the icy landscape for over a century. Despite this fact, they found nesting sites with mummified remains, bones, and even penguin droppings. It was almost as if the colony had been recently abandoned. A new study conducted by researcher Steve Emsley sheds light on this mystery. It turns out that the penguin remains may have been buried under the ice for hundreds or even thousands of years. Recent meltwater, however, had exposed the colony again. By dating the mummified remains, they discovered that the penguins had inhabited Cape Irizar 3 times in the past 5,000 years. Each time, they were eventually driven out by rising sea levels, approximately 800 years ago. Mount Everest and the surrounding Himalayan region have undergone major changes over geological time. You think there might be only ice and snow to be found, but no. Fossils have also been found on the mountain that could possibly prove the scenario that the story of Noah and the Great Flood actually happened. The fossils were from marine animals, and NASA also confirmed that there was limestone. That means that there were fish on the top of the mountain somewhere in distant history. But the question is, what were these fish doing on the summit in ancient times? So, the book of Genesis might have been correct, when it said that the whole world was covered with water. The existence of sea fossils from the ocean, as NASA says, fuels theories that India was part of an ancient supercontinent called Gondwanaland that existed more than 150 million years ago. This is Dr. James Bedford, and he is known to have had one of the most unique lives of all time. But what makes him unique is what happened to him after he passed. In fact, James is the first person in history to be placed in cryopreservation. This happened on January 12, 1967, and that day is now called Bedford Day. Instead of choosing a funeral home, he partnered with Life Extension Society, the first cryonics organization in the world. Cryonics is a procedure in which the body and brain are frozen, so that it remains well preserved forever. James believed that one day he could be brought back to life. Although the tech used then was nowhere near as good as it is today, James' cryopreservation serves as an important milestone in history. Do you think people who do this could one day be brought back to life? Let me know in the comments. Let's go back in time, about 214 million years ago, when the Earth looked very different. In what is now Greenland, a dinosaur named Issei roamed. This cool dino walked on two legs, had a long neck, and was actually an ancestor of sauropods, the largest land animals to ever exist. The name Issei pays tribute to the Inuit language of Greenland, and means cold bone. Initially, scientists thought one of these dinosaurs was a Plateosaurus, a well-known long-necked dino that lived in Europe during the Triassic period. But when they discovered two well-preserved skulls of Issei during an excavation in East Greenland in 1994, they knew they had something very special on their hands. These herbivorous dinos lived approximately 214 million years ago, during the late Triassic period. During that time, the supercontinent Pangaea began to break apart, giving rise to the Atlantic Ocean. The climate changed, allowing the first herbivorous dinos to migrate to Europe and other places. The two skulls belonged to a young and nearly adult Issei and resembled dinos from Brazil. Together with the Plateosaurs from Germany, they form a group called Plateosaurids. These relatively agile dinos walked on two legs and could grow up to 33 feet or 10 meters long. As you probably know, only about 5% of our planet's oceans have been discovered. Recent research showed that Saturn's moon also has an ocean with high concentration of hydrogen, methane, and carbon dioxide. This was discovered in the liquid rock, just as it is deep within our Earth. Some scientists therefore assume that far below the icy shell, a methane-producing process could exist. It would even suggest that there's a real possibility that life is present on Saturn's moon. If this can actually be proven, it will have a huge impact, because it means we're not alone in the vast universe. Do you think life exists on other planets? Let me know in the comments. Atlatl darts are one of the oldest weapons in the world. They were used by Native Americans thousands of years ago. This atlatl dart was discovered by Craig Lee, a research associate at the University of Colorado. He found it in a melting ice field in the Rocky Mountains. By studying the weapon, he thinks it was used by a hunter about 10,000 years ago, and fortunately, it was very well preserved. The nearly 1 meter long arrow is made of a special type of tree, and the personal markings written on it by its owner are still clearly visible. Craig is a specialist in archaeology of ice fields. He thinks there's much to discover under the ice. At the moment, they're said to be developing scientific methods in hopes of finding and protecting more artifacts in the future. During the Ice Age, Siberia was far from the desolate land it is today. It was home to various mammoths, tundra wolves, bears, woolly rhinoceros, bison, and cave lions. Cave lions were larger relatives of today's African lions. In the frozen depths of the Siberian Arctic region, a golden-furred lion cub was discovered, covered in mud but otherwise well preserved. Despite the 28,000 years that have passed since the cub's death, its teeth, skin, soft tissues, and organs have mummified and remained fully intact. The cub was named Sparta or the Siberian Simba. Sparta was one of the two young cave lions found by mammoth tusk hunters on the far east of Russia in 2017 and 2018. Initially, it was thought that the two cubs were siblings, as they were discovered only 49 feet or 15 meters apart. However, recent research revealed that they differed in age by about 15,000 years. The second cub, known as Boris, is approximately 43,448 years old. UFOs have been sighted almost everywhere in the world. But what about Mount Everest? To be honest, no one will probably believe you if you say you saw a UFO up there, and it would probably be dismissed as a hallucination under the influence of altitude. But it could also be the perfect place to keep aliens hidden, because not many people visit there. In 2018, a specific UFO incident occurred and one of the climbers even managed to photograph the object. Some people said it might have been a drone or a helicopter, but the man who took the photo is convinced it was a UFO. Conspiracy theorists have reminded people that there has long been a rumor of a secret underground base in the area. Even released CIA files have revealed 7 unidentified flying objects over Nepal, India, and Bhutan in 1968. Incidentally, the UFOs were accompanied by a thundering sound and flashing lights. A reindeer herder from the remote wilderness of East Siberia embarked on an adventure to an island in the frigid Arctic region. There, protruding from the permafrost, he discovered nearly perfect preserved remains of a brown bear frozen in time for 3,500 years. The Siberian cold has not only preserved the bear's soft tissue, but also parts of its last meal, bird feathers and plants. A team of courageous scientists in Siberia embarked on a fascinating mission to study this bear. Carefully, they cut through its hide to access its brain, internal organs, and other tissues. This opened the door to a wide range of research, from cellular and microbiological analysis to genetic studies and even virological research. What's quite intriguing is that the genetic analysis revealed that the bear's mitochondrial DNA is not significantly different from that of modern bears. This bear would have been approximately 5 feet or 1.5 meters in size, but how exactly it ended up on the island still remains a mystery. Today, the island is separated from the mainland by a 31-mile or 50-kilometer wide strait, so there are several possible scenarios. Perhaps it walked across the ice, swam through the water, or the island was connected to the mainland at the time. What do you think? Alligators appeared on Earth about 37 million years ago. So it's safe to say that they know how to survive in all kinds of situations and under very different weather conditions. However, you may be surprised to learn that these cold-blooded reptiles have a very unusual method of survival. In fact, they freeze their entire bodies, except their snouts that rise above the surface. But why would they do that? This method is called icing, and this allows them to breathe while they're underwater in a very icy state. When people see them stuck like this, many people think that the alligators are no longer alive, and they're just completely frozen. But that's not true. The freezing is similar to the hibernation of a mammal. This method helps reptiles get through the freezing period. The Allen Hills 84001 is a controversial meteorite that many scientists believe is a fragment that came from the planet Mars. It was found near the Allen Hills in Antarctica by geologists on snowmobiles in 1984. The meteorite weighed nearly 2 kilograms. After investigation, it was concluded that the object is the oldest meteorite from Mars, of about 4 billion years old to have landed on Earth. The meteorite is believed to be from the period when Mars still had liquid water on its surface. According to further analysis, it became clear that the meteorite would have traveled from Mars to Earth about 13,000 years ago. Perhaps more interestingly, some scientists claimed in 1996 to find bacteria on the meteorite that suggest the planet Mars is capable of supporting life. Unfortunately, however, this has never been 100% proven. In 2014, remarkable discoveries were made in the permafrost of Siberian Yakutia, officially known as the Republic of Sakha. The remains of a woolly rhinoceros was discovered, and it was named Sasha. Sasha provides a glimpse into the Paleolithic era. Her thick curly fur is described as strawberry blonde, a striking color compared to the familiar slate gray of modern white rhinoceros in Africa. Analysis of Sasha's teeth indicates that she was about 7 months old when she died. Despite her young age, Sasha was as large as an 18-month-old modern rhinoceros. The prevailing theory about Sasha's death is that she drowned in a mud pit before her body froze in the permafrost. Scientists have also noted that her fur had molted, indicating seasonal fur shedding, a phenomenon that many animals undergo. Studying Sasha and her counterparts sheds light on the different climate of Yakutia, approximately 35,000 to 50,000 years ago. The region experienced colder and drier conditions without the climate zones we see today. The location where Sasha was found is now in the tundra zone, which didn't exist back then. The absence of tundra vegetation provided abundant grasses and grains, offering sufficient food for the mammoths and woolly rhinoceros that inhabited the area. If you had thought that there were only humans climbing Mount Everest, you would be wrong. As always, nature rules. And on this mountain, the animals have the upper hand. There's a surprising number of animals you can encounter during the treacherous trek. It's surprising because Mount Everest is so notoriously high and dangerous and so hard to breathe in that you wouldn't expect animals to be able to. There's a chance that a Himalayan black bear will explore your camping spot. They're rare, but they are aggressive when provoked. Himalayan black bears have been documented at an altitude of about 4,900 feet, or 1,500 meters. However, you can also encounter snow leopards at an altitude of nearly 16,500 feet, or 5,000 meters. They hunt in groups. You can also see the adorable Himalayan tahr or the Himalayan goral. And in addition, it's not uncommon to encounter red pandas either. The following story about a man named Justin Smith is a great mystery. On February 20th, 2015, he left his friend's house and decided to walk home. His father found him the next morning covered in a meter of snow. He was frozen solid, his eyes were wide open, and his face was purple. His father held him and cried, and later called his mother to tell her the tragic news. For them, there was no doubt that Justin had spent hours in the snow while the temperature fell extremely below zero. He was no longer breathing, nor did he have a pulse, but they decided to take him to the hospital as soon as possible. The doctors could not even determine a proper body temperature, but one doctor saw something the others did not. When your body cools at the right rate, your metabolism slows down at a rate that protects you from exposure. They began administering chest compressions and hooked him up to a machine to warm and oxygenate his blood. A month later, Justin was back on his feet. An incredible story, isn't it? As a miner in the beautiful Yukon area of Canada, you are determined to find gold. Using a powerful water cannon, you're busy blasting away frozen mud. And then, instead of gold, you stumble upon an almost perfectly preserved gray wolf pup. Over 57,000 years old. This incredible wolf named Zur was discovered on the traditional land of the locals in their community. However, this isn't just any wolf mummy. Her body is approximately 100% intact, except for her eyes. Researchers determined that Zur was a female, and x-rays revealed that she was about 6 or 7 weeks old when she died. What's even more interesting is that the chemical analysis of her teeth indicated that she primarily consumed fish and other aquatic creatures, rather than large mammals like bison that you might expect. It appears that Zur was in good health, meaning she didn't die from starvation or a fatal encounter with other predators. Instead, it's believed that she was in her den when it collapsed, burying her in sandy soil and preserving her for thousands of years. What's really cool is that DNA analysis revealed that Zur belonged to an ancient wolf population, ancestors of gray wolves originating from Siberia, Russia, and Alaska. However, her population is no longer found in the Yukon area, suggesting that her species was eventually replaced by a different wolf population. The Franklin expedition began in 1845, and its mission was to sail across the Northwest Passage. This is the sea route across the Polar Sea from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. This would only be possible through the ice-strewn Arctic entrances of Canada. The expedition's crew was considered the most professional at the time, but after 2 months, they mysteriously disappeared. There was no official information until 2014, but eventually a wreck of one of the expedition ships, the Erebus, was found stuck in 36 feet or 11 meters of frozen water. 2 years later, some more wreckage was found in the ice, and again 3 years later. However, the ship's demise remained a great mystery because the wreckage was out of place. Eventually, it was discovered that the ship had been found far away from where it was actually supposed to have sunk. The remains of the ship which were found there seemed to be frozen in time. Some chests were even still completely closed. The cabins looked neat, and some of their parts also looked untouched. Approximately 100,000 glaciers are located in the Alaska region. One of these is the Mendenhall Glacier, which has been shrinking recently. And as the ice melts, remnants of an ancient forest were found. Trunks and stumps have emerged from the ice, and scientists say this is the first time the logs have been exposed to the world in more than 1,000 years. The Mendenhall Glacier covers a 95 square kilometer river of ice that has been flowing into a lake for more than 5 decades now. The University of Alaska at Juneau, who discovered the forest, were surprised because many of the trees are still upright. There's even trees that still have roots. The upright position allows geologists to study the tree and determine how old they are. Another glacier nearby, the Taku Glacier, also shows signs of melting, and of that, an ancient forest is also thought to be hiding under the ice. Meet Dogor, an ancient pup discovered in the Siberian permafrost, whose name means friend in the Yakut language. Genetic tests have revealed that Dogor doesn't belong to the wolf or dog species, suggesting that he could be a mysterious ancestor shared by both groups. The university in Yakutsk reports that parts of Dogor remains have been remarkably well preserved, including his head, nose, whiskers, eyelashes, and mouth. Additionally, the pup still had his milk teeth when he died, indicating that he was only 2 months old at the time. The level of preservation is so exceptional that scientists successfully determined the sequence of genes in Dogor's DNA using a rib bone fragment. This analysis revealed that Dogor was male. The fact that Dogor defies easy classification suggests that he may belong to a population that predates both wolves and dogs, an evolutionary link between the two. Dogor's presence is also particularly significant because he comes from a crucial period in the evolution of dogs. During this time, wolf species were declining, while early dogs began to emerge. You probably heard several stories about Bigfoot and the Yeti, but did you know that some of the very first people who planned routes to the summit of Mount Everest reported seeing Yeti footprints in the snow? They've even taken photographs as proof of their finds. In 1951, Englishmen Eric Shipton and Dr. Michael Ward tried to find a path to the summit from Nepal and succeeded in reaching their goal. But before they did, they found a trail of the largest and most unusual footprints, at an altitude of about 16,500 feet, or 5,000 meters. They used a boot, a backpack, and an ice pick to demonstrate the colossal size. Realizing that they were sharing the mountain with something inexplicable, they followed the footprints for several miles or kilometers before losing the trail. Do you believe the Yeti exists? 1997, on the edge of Siberia, the Zeleny Yar necropolis was discovered, an extraordinary archaeological complex. It contained 2 frozen medieval mummies from a mysterious Arctic civilization. The mummies had been preserved naturally by Siberia's permafrost. The city where the mummies were discovered is one of the coldest parts of the world. On the coast of the Kara Sea in the Arctic Ocean, freezing temperatures reach an average of 2 degrees Celsius. Both mummies were covered with birch bark and canvas and coated from head to toe with copper. Scientists believe that the antimicrobial properties of the copper help preserve the bodies in such great shape. Unfortunately, little is known about this particular civilization, which lived in one of the most frigid regions of the world. In the beautiful Yukon, not far from Dawson City, a paleontologist made a fantastic discovery: a mummified Ice Age Arctic ground squirrel. It all began in 2018 when a gold prospector was working at Hester Creek. Normally, they find bones and fossils from the Ice Age there, but this find was different. At first glance, it might have appeared as nothing more than a dried up clump of brown fur and skin. However, upon closer examination, the squirrel's features became clear: the tiny hands, claws, fluffy tail, and adorable ears. Arctic ground squirrels build nests known as middens, which are underground for their winter hibernation, and these ancient Ice Age nests are often preserved in the frozen ground. However, it's much rarer to find a complete squirrel. Squirrels are intriguing creatures for research, because unlike mammoths or saber-toothed cats, they manage to survive in the Yukon even after the Ice Age. Who knows, perhaps this squirrel resembles the one we know from the Ice Age movies. In 2007, a new dinosaur species was added to the list of discoveries by scientists after some paleontologists found it on a frozen mountaintop in Antarctica. The remains of a huge unknown dinosaur were hidden in an ice rock, and they had to use drills and chisels to extract the dinosaur, which is now known as the Glacialosaurus hammeri. The dinosaur is thought to have roamed the Earth about 190 million years ago. It was named after the fossil expert professor William Hammer, who led expeditions to Antarctica. Based on the remains, the Glacialosaurus hammeri is about 7 meters tall and weighed about 4,000 to 5,000 kilograms, making it one of the largest animals to have ever existed on land. What makes this discovery interesting is that it shows that dinosaurs not only roamed in China, South Africa, and in the Americas, but also Antarctica. In 2013, a dinosaur species was reportedly found in a Canadian park. The dinosaur resembled a flying dragon, and it was also determined that it was a previously undiscovered species. It had a wingspan of 33 feet, or 10 meters, and the dragon was named Cryodragon boreas. This basically means frozen dragon of the north. It's incredible, but the creature was one of the very largest flying animals in our history. Scientists found out that the dragon lived 76 million years ago, during the Cretaceous period. The researchers actually knew about this type of flying dinosaur about 30 years ago, but the existence was not officially confirmed until 2013. In 2007, a Siberian reindeer herder named Yuri Kuti met another mammoth calf named Lyuba. Lyuba briefly disappeared, but when she reappeared, her right ear and tail were missing, likely chewed off by dogs. What happened is that after her death, Lyuba was preserved by lactic acid produced by bacteria that entered her body. This preserved her soft tissues almost perfectly, making it hard to believe that she's about 42,000 years old. But there's another woolly mammoth discovered named Yuka. Yuka lived approximately 39,000 years ago during the last ice age. Her remarkably well-preserved remains were found in the Siberian permafrost in 2010, containing intact DNA, skin, muscle tissue, and even hair. Yuka's discovery has provided valuable insights into the genetics and biology of this extinct species, and sparked discussions about the possibility of cloning woolly mammoths. The Charkov mammoth is another prehistoric animal found in Siberia. This mammoth is estimated to be around 20,000 years old, and lived some 34,000 to 12,000 years ago, reaching a respectable age of 47 years. Scientists have found that mammoths left the Taimyr region in search of food, or to escape flooding during various periods. Make no mistake, Mount Everest is very dangerous, but it's also called a graveyard these days because of the unexplained events that have happened there. At this altitude, you can't just call someone for help. Even the first man that climbed Mount Everest fell prey to this phenomenon. Meet Reinhold Messner, the first person to climb the mountain without oxygen in 1978 and 1980. During that second trek, he swore he felt an extra presence with him, and he attributed it to the spirits of fallen British climbers. In 1933, during Frank Smith's attempt to conquer the climb, he felt a presence with him so strong that he tried to share his lunch with them. But the story gets even creepier. Ever heard of the third man factor? It refers to the feeling that you get when there's an extra, unseen third person with you. Several climbers reported that when they were in distress, they got visions of loved ones, both living and deceased. Blaine is an American illusionist, magician, and stuntman, whose greatest inspiration is Houdini. On November 27th of the year 2000, he decided to survive frozen in ice for 72 hours in the middle of Times Square, New York, while the public watched. He ended up spending 63 hours, 42 minutes, and 15 seconds in the block of ice, and he said it was one of the worst times in his life. In fact, not only was he cold, but he also suffered from a severe lack of sleep. The mental toll the challenge took on him was unparalleled. At one point, his mind was flooded with hallucinations. Eventually, he was hacked out and came out relatively healthy. The White War is the name of a battle fought between Italy and Austria during World War I in the snow-capped mountains of Italy and Switzerland. The war began in 1915 and lasted about 4 years. Now, more than 100 years later, as the snow in the Alps are melting, more and more artifacts are reappearing, including those of soldiers. These battles were 3,600 meters above sea level, and temperatures could reach minus 30 degrees Celsius. Due to the extreme environment and weather conditions, more soldiers died from avalanches, landslides, and diseases than in the actual battle. But other things were found, including old diaries of soldiers and love letters that never made it to their final destination. A foal over 42,000 years ago was found preserved in the ice, with liquid blood still flowing through its veins. This amazing discovery is now the oldest sample of liquid blood ever found. This particular foal belongs to the Lena horse species, and was unearthed in an impressive crater in East Siberia. It's estimated to have been only 1 to 2 weeks old when it perished, but the cold embrace of the permafrost has worked a wonder by preserving this foal's skin, fur, and even the tiniest details with extraordinary precision. And here's the really cool part. The foal's bladder even contained well-preserved urine. Scientists have been working enthusiastically over the past few months to extract intact cells and high-quality DNA from the foal, in the hopes of potentially cloning it. We're always very surprised when we see animals that are bigger than they should be. But have you ever seen a colossal squid? In 2014, scientists announced that in Antarctica at the South Pole, they had found a 775-pound or 350-kilogram female colossal squid in the ice. And she was even carrying eggs. But what'll surprise you much more is that this type of squid can grow even heavier, as much as 1,100 pounds, or 500 kilograms, and their tentacles can reach up to 13 to 14 feet, or 4 to 5 meters. This squid has 3 hearts and 2 eyes that are very large, and special because they need them to explore everything in the dark deep sea. This particular squid was brought to New Zealand, and it's since been well preserved in optimal freezing conditions. If you're interested in seeing the squid, you should travel to the Te Papa Museum in Wellington.
Have you ever found anything frozen in ice? Let me know in the comments. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos we've made, click one on the screen or take a look at the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.